A very good evening to all. It's time for Children's Bedtime Treasury with Let Emotions Speak. Don't forget to like the video, share the video and subscribe to my channel for more bedtime stories. Today's story is about the Invisible Imp. One day, Sarah Jones was pegging out her washing. It was a lovely day and she was looking forward to visiting her friend Rose. "I'll just get this washing on the line while the sun's shining," she said to herself, "and then I'll be on my way." After a while, she stopped and looked down in the basket. "That's very peculiar," she thought. "I know I've already pegged out that green shirt, and there it is back in the basket." She carried on pegging out the clothes. Now she shook her head in disbelief, for although she had been working away for quite a while, the basket of washing was still full and there was almost nothing on the line. She began to quite cross, for she was going to be late getting to Rose's house. Try as she might, she just could not get that washing pegged. In the end, she had to leave the basket of wet washing clothes and run to Rose's house. "I am so sorry, I am late, Rose," she gasped, all out of breath from running. Sarah told Rose all about what had happened. "Well," said Rose, "that's a strange coincidence. I was baking some cakes for us to have for tea. Every time I put them in the oven and turned away, they were out of the oven and on the table again. In the end, I had to stand guard over them, which reminds me they were just beginning to cook nicely when you knocked on the door." The two women went into Rose's kitchen and there were the cakes, sitting on the table again, half cooked. "Now they're ruined," cried Rose. "Whatever shall we do?" At that moment, there was a noise in the street. Rose and Sarah looked out of the window to see Elmer, the postman, surrounded by a crowd of people, all shouting and waving envelopes in the air. The two women ran out into the street. "What's going on?" they cried. "Elmer's given us all the wrong post," said Rose's neighbor. "He's normally so reliable, but this morning he seems to have gone completely crazy. Now we've got to sort out all the post for him." "I don't know what happened," wailed Elmer in anguish. "I'm sure I posted all the letters through the right doors." "Well," said Sarah, "Rose and I have also found strange things happening to us this morning." She told the crowd their stories. Everyone forgave Elmer when they realized it wasn't his fault, but they were still truly mystified as to what or who could have caused all these problems. But that wasn't the end of it. Oh no, indeed! The butcher's wife served her family mutton stew, but when she lifted the lid, the family heard a bleating sound and a little lamb leaped out of the pot. The milkman delivered the milk as usual, but when people took the milk indoors, they found the bottles were full of lemonade. Old Mr. Smith tried to pull his chair up to the table and found it was stuck hard to the floor. And when Mrs. Smith painted her bedroom blue, she came back and found it had changed to pink with purple spots. Can you guess what had happened? Do you know who had been up to all these tricks? It was an imp, of course! The wicked little fellow had become bored playing pranks on the fairies and goblins in fairyland. By now, they knew all his tricks and he was finding it harder and harder to catch them out. Then he had an idea. Why not play tricks in the human world where he would be invisible? So that's exactly what he did. At first, he really only meant to play one or two tricks, but he had such fun that he couldn't resist carrying on. Well, the Invisible Imp continued on with his tricks. But of course, as you know, pride comes before a fall, and one day he just went too far. Sarah Jones had been invited to a party. It was to be a fancy dress party, and on the invitation it said, "Please wear red." Now Sarah fretted because she had no red clothes at all. Then she had an idea. She got an old blue dress from the back of the cupboard. "I'll dye it red," she thought. She mixed a bucket of red dye and was just about to put the dress into it when along came the Invisible Imp. "Here's some fun," he thought. "I'll turn the dye blue. Then she won't know why her dress hasn't changed color. Won't that be funny?" And he started giggling to himself at the thought of it. He danced up and down on the edge of the bucket, thinking up a really evil spell to turn the dye blue. But he laughed so much to himself that he slipped and fell right into the bright red mixture. Fast as lightning, out he scrambled and cast his spell. Sure enough, Sarah fished out the dress from the bucket and to her dismay saw that it was exactly the same color as when she had put it into the dye. She was about to peer into the bucket when something caught her eye. For there, sitting on the table, chuckling to himself and holding his sides with laughter, was a bright red imp. And there was a trail of tiny red footprints from the bucket of dye to the table. The silly imp had no idea that he was no longer invisible and that Sarah could see him as plain as the nose on her face. In a flash, Sarah realized what had happened. She chased the imp out of the house and down the street, and I'm glad to say he wasn't able to play his mischievous tricks ever again. So kids, what did you learn from this story? No matter how naughty you get, in the end you'll be caught. Let's add something interesting to the memory box. IQ time with Let Emotions Speak. Do you know the highest mountain in the world is Mount Everest, and it is located in Nepal. Nepal is a small country in Asia, and Asia is the largest continent in the world. With this, the day comes to an end. See you tomorrow with another great bedtime story. Good night.